Neel is co-founder and chief strategy officer for EpiFinder. Neel is an award-winning individual. He's a multifaceted entrepreneur and biomedical informaticist. He has many years of experience in healthcare information and technology. He's had many distinguished awards in his tenure. Would you come up, Neel?
Allow me to take you on a journey through the healthcare metrics over the next 15 to 20 minutes. What if the future of MedTech is not about the tech? Think about it. What if the future of MedTech is about the human experience that our technology enables? I'm Neel Mehta, biomedical informaticist and healthcare futurist. We all are gathered in this room today because we believe in innovation. We eat, sleep, breathe technological breakthroughs in our day-to-day life. We are pioneers that are producing better outcomes for our patients, for our customers, for our clients, for our stakeholders. We are making sexy technology in our day-to-day life to create the better and future healthcare. But we all agree that in order to overcome this, we have some unique challenges. We have some inertia. We have some challenges in our day-to-day workflow. And we would all agree that every doctor and healthcare professionals have one of the greatest challenges in life, that is allowing the patients to change their behavior, like a lifestyle intervention, medication compliance, or diet, or even going to the gym. In my case, not having Haagen-Dazs coffee ice cream every afternoon. We know that these clinical interventions help us to improve the quality of life. But still, adoption is a challenge. Still, adoption is a barrier to having our innovation having an impact. Breakthrough technologies are not just good enough. It seems that we must also overcome inertia. Turns out, human beings are set in their own ways. Of course, not me, and not you, but everyone else. In other words, any breakthrough will only have an impact if it's adopted by patients. But that's not the only problem. In order for our innovation to have an impact, we must also overcome institutional inertia. Think about how many amazing technologies are being developed daily, and we are trying to adopt in the healthcare ecosystem. But those same technologies don't get adopted because we are not able to change the behavior of people like us in those organizations. It's a huge challenge. How do we get patients to adopt new treatments? We have to interrupt the inertia in their lives. How do we get doctors and healthcare providers to adopt new treatments? We have to interrupt the inertia in their organization. Our core problem is not the lack of innovation. We have innovations everywhere. Our core problem is an excess of human inertia. Human beings don't really want to change. My company, EpiFinder, didn't realize this at first. We started out in 2015 building our first healthcare solution in the field of epilepsy. From the very beginning, we tackled what we thought that was the main challenge in epilepsy, that is to improve diagnosis. There are 3.4 million people in US who have epilepsy. 65 million people worldwide. 1 in 26 Americans will have epilepsy at any given point in their lifetime. 40% of those patients are being misdiagnosed. Think about it, 40% of the patients are being misdiagnosed, which costs the system $12.5 billion per year. We wanted to prove the validity of our tool to show that there were better clinical outcomes. And we did. Our Mayo Clinic study proves that our tool can improve the screening for epilepsy patients with 89.5% sensitivity and 87.5% specificity. But what we discovered, which caught us by surprise, is that simply improving clinical diagnosis is not enough. We didn't realize this at the beginning. We thought that simply presenting the fact that our technology improves diagnosis will help make adoption easy. As I presented our solutions to Chief Informatics Officer, Chief Medical Officer, people just like you, the major question asked was how it saves time, increased revenue, and fits into the workflow. But most importantly, how will their team of healthcare professionals will able to implement it? What we realize that our solutions to work is if we can overcome institutional inertia. Turns out, overcoming institutional inertia is just as much of a problem as for us to deal with our patients overcoming their own inertia. We don't have an innovation problem, we have an inertia problem. And this changed the way I think about our solution. And this changes the way we approach our partners. And this is much bigger than EpiFinder. You know, it's a challenge we all face. We all face in our daily lives. We all face in our culture. We all face in our day-to-day workflow. We all need to shift our perspective from just focusing on technology to focusing back on human experiences. How do we overcome inertia? How do we overcome human resistance to change? Maybe the answer to all these questions lies not in the future, but in the past. Back in the 20th century, before we had electronic medical records, bundled payments, and medication compliance, when patients and doctors had close personal relationship, the doctors were able to listen to the patients. Doctors spent time asking questions for the patients. Diagnosis was embedded in the clinical narrative. Back then, there was a very high level of human-to-human interaction and low level of technology. But as we invented new and better communication technologies over the past 50 years, the doctor-patient interaction fundamentally changed forever, not for the good. In fact, by the end of 20th century, most of the interaction between a doctor and patient was pushed outside the examination room. The more technologically advanced we become, the more in-depth human interaction were driven outside the healthcare ecosystem. Ironically, this was happening at the same time when consumer internet technology was gaining momentum. The technologies were developed to increase human connection, human communication, and collaboration. More than 5 billion people uses cell phones. About 250 million users came online for the first time in 2017. People are using emails and messaging apps at the lightning speed. In the beginning of the 21st century, the explosion of social platforms empowered us to do one-on-one human interaction at a massive scale like never seen before. And this trend is not reversing by any means. The problem is that healthcare still lags far behind in bringing this communication revolution to medical interactions. That's the problem. More time we spent documenting the notes than listening to the patients. The more time is now spent looking at the EMR than looking at the patients. But in fact, we have technology that can bring back the patient experience. We have technology that can bring back the narrative, the story, and the patient history back into our own ecosystem. But it has to be implemented. Without implementation, it's not possible. Now, how we are going to do this mainly depends a lot on the nature of your work. Whether are you a doctor or an executive, whether are you an engineer or an inventor. Here is how we are doing at EpiFinder. Our goal is to use technology to improve patient outcomes, to bring back the patient experience at the center. We have realized that just having a clinical decision support technology for our doctors, which improves epilepsy diagnosis and also patient outcomes, is not enough. At EpiFinder, we have designed an augmented intelligence patient portal, which allows patients to share their story, the journey, and everything else, while in the comfort of their own home. They are able to input their physical symptoms, the medical history, even before they see their doctor. How cool is that? What we are doing through EpiFinder is we are bringing back that technological communication between doctor and a patient back in the ecosystem. We are using technology to bring old ways of conversation into the new world in a way that still aligns with regulations and reimbursements. We are really passionate about shifting our focus from technology to the human experience. This is really exciting. I know many of you believe in. And guess what? Taking patient experiences seriously helps with adoption. It helps overcome human inertia. It helps overcome resistance to change. It helps overcome the way we talk to each other. When there is better communication, when people are listened to, cared for, and appreciated, when you put back the patient experience at the center, there is less resistance to change. And that improves the outcomes for everyone who is involved, whether it's a doctor or a patient, whether it's a payer or a pharma company, whether it's a hospital or a clinic. The future of MedTech is not only about the technology itself. It's not only about artificial intelligence, augmented reality, virtual reality, medical devices, and all the cool wearables we see in our day-to-day life. It's about designing a technology that focuses on human experiences and empowers human-to-human interaction. Here is the thought I want to end today with. The technology of today does not fit the culture of yesterday, or habitual ways of thinking, acting, and doing. Indeed, the very culture of our work must catch up with the technological innovations. When this conference is over at 6:30, I guess, we go back to our offices, labs, meetings, investor rooms. Let's all remember this. We cannot lead the future of MedTech by focusing only on technology and ignoring culture and human experience. We have to upgrade our culture in our organization, and the human experience of our technology makes it possible. I want to leave you with a question, but in fact it's a challenge. Are you going to limit the use of technological innovations in order to preserve the existing culture of your organizations? Or are you going to work in a difficult culture change so that technological innovations can be adopted to improve patient outcomes, which we all are committed to? I'm Neel Mehta, co-founder of EpiFinder. I want to thank you all for being here today. I look forward to meeting every one of you throughout the rest of the conference. Thank you.